Welcome back. Well, our next guest wants to make sure that you are not a victim of a storm chaser. Joining us now is Tom Stevens. He is with the Better Business Bureau. So you first said storm chaser, and I was thinking to myself, like the guys you see on the Weather Channel going down to the Keys, and you said, no, that's not what a storm.
Or not the ones in the Midwest chasing tornadoes either.
Not those guys.
Not those guys.
But there are other storm chasers you say you need to be on the lookout for. Who are those?
Those are contractors that we call them transient contractors, and they'll come into any kind of storm damaged area after the damage has been done and either try to go door to door soliciting work or try to hook up with a local contractor and buy the use of their license for a period of time, do the work and leave.
So if someone is coming to you, you say it might be too good to be true.
Yeah, they're going to come to you and maybe they offer a lower price than you've got somewhere else. The tip-offs are they're going to ask for money, a large amount of money up front. They're probably not going to have any kind of licensing on their truck, that sort of thing. Let's
talk about the licensing and the insurance.
Sure.
It's something that when people are trying to get their homes back together, they're not thinking about, do you have a license, are you insured? But you say this is one of those times where you really need to make sure. Why is it so important?
Well, if you have, let's talk about license first. If you do business with an unlicensed contractor and something happens with that job, you don't have protection from the state fund, construction fund. As far as insurance goes, if the contractor you're using doesn't have liability insurance and workers' comp insurance that's in force, if one of his workers is injured on your property, you're going to be responsible for it.
You're liable for their injuries because they don't have insurance and you did not
You hired them and it was on your property.
Okay.
So that $1,000 repair could turn into tens of thousands of dollars.
Depending on the medical bill.
Exactly.
And you say also the insurance is so important, not from what happens for those potential employees that are on the property or what have, but because of neighbors. If they're chopping down a tree and the tree accidentally goes through the neighbor's roof, then you're liable for that damage as well.
As well as damage to your roof, possibly, too.
Okay, how do you find out if somebody is licensed and insured? I mean, you can ask them. They might give you fictitious information.
Two ways. Let's talk about the licensing first. State of Florida has a myfloridalicense.com website, myfloridalicense.com. You can plug in the name of the company and it'll tell you whether or not they have a license, or the name of an individual and tell you whether or not they're licensed.
Okay.
So that's the first one. Second one, as far as insurance goes, you ask for a certificate of insurance with the agent's phone number on it.
Okay.
And then once the contractor leaves, then you call the agent and make sure it's still in fact.
Wow, you know, these are things that people in the height of the aftermath of the storm are not thinking about.
Right. And if another thing, if a contractor gives you an estimate and asks you to sign it, our recommendation is that you do not sign it. You take it and say, I'll get back with you. Then you need to go over that estimate with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that everything that you want done is listed on that estimate and the prices includes everything that you said you needed done, and to make sure that that there's not any additional clauses that might be detrimental to you.
So you're saying when they come out and they're doing an estimate, or maybe they're going door to door, whatever, not going, they say, okay, here's my estimate, I need you to sign it. You
don't
say,
do it.
Don't do it, because what you said, and we talked about this in the commercial break, is that they could say, okay, this is a contract now between us.
In many cases, and not all cases, but in many cases, there's an assignment of benefits clause on the back of the contract or somewhere on the contract that basically says, you have an insurance claim. If the insurance company approves your claim, then you have to hire us to do the work.
And if you don't use us for the work, then what would happen? Because you've now signed this piece of paper that's essentially a contract between you two.
They have the right to sue you, and will.
And okay, so what do you recommend the right way for people to get this story? Can we go look up preferred people? I mean, can you know what?
You can go, there's a number of ways. We have, our website has lists of contractors, so you can check that out. Be proactive. Don't wait for them to come to you, you go to them. Look up, go to the, just Google contractors and then check them out before you call them, and then call them and ask them to come give you an estimate. Roofers,
right, okay,
do the work,
due diligence.
Do it in advance. And obviously that's difficult now because there's a lot of damage. And there's going to be a lot of work for a lot of people.
You got to be patient.
You got to be patient, and maybe you have to make some temporary repairs yourself to prevent further damage to your property till the contractor can
Well,
get
and
to
that
you.
was something we were talking about as well, is that you need to do your due
Right.
diligence if you can't get somebody out to your property, if you have a window that's out or
Right.
a hole in your roof. You say you
Exactly.
need to get a tarp. Why do those things
Well,
on your
if
own?
you don't do that, then if further damage ensues, and the insurance company could say, okay, you didn't take the steps necessary to protect your property. You don't have a claim for any ensuing damage that happened after the original damage. It's possible.
It's possible. So just, make sure you're doing
Right.
what you can.
Make sure you're
in
doing what you can.
the short run.
Right.
Any other parting words of wisdom? I know you're going to speak in with our colleague Ken Amara, who he's on top of all this stuff
Yeah.
too. So I know you guys have been like friends for a really long
20 years,
For like
yeah.
20 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
you two
yeah.
are partners in crime, or the other way around. So what else do you think people need to keep in the top of their minds as we have a last minute or so?
I think the most important thing is do your due diligence, like you said, and don't rush yourself.
Okay.
Take time to make a proper decision. Don't sign anything until you're sure it's what you want to do.
There you go. Even though they pressure you.
That's the #1 red flag. If they say, you got to sign this today or I'm out of here, say bye.
Bye. All right. See you later. And then
Okay.
call you guys
Right.
and say, hey, or call Ken, right? I'm calling Ken. That's it. It's all over. Good to see you. Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
advice. We appreciate you. And you can find all the links of all the information that we talked about on our local Better Business Bureau website, which is bbb.org/Northeast Florida.